Ever wished you could clone yourself to run a company? John Rush pretty much just did that. In this episode, we talk with the founder behind what might be the most automated organization on earth. 80% of his business is run by AI agents he built himself, and he plans to eventually automate the entire thing. From prototyping with Lovable to launching SEO agents that work while he sleeps and actually create content that ranks, John walks us through his entire process. So if you're a builder, founder, or just curious about the future of solo entrepreneurship, this is a mind-blowing look into what's next. Hey, John, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So I saw your Twitter profile. It really caught my attention. You know, your profile says, I run the most automated org on earth using the AI agents I built, which is a huge claim. But I checked out your website and some of the projects, and it looks like you're legit. So I'd love to learn more about how you're doing that.
Yeah, thanks. So I've been running VC-backed startups with a lot of people, like big teams, and a lot of overhead for 10 years. And eventually I was actually tired of working with people. And then the AI happened. And then I saw this whole opportunity for me to actually start working solo. So I went solo. I delegated my startup that was VC backed. I hired CTO, I hired CEO. So I left the startup. And then I started learning AI, and I started building this little workflows, tools, and then later little agents that would just do the most repetitive work that I do myself. So first I had to do everything myself, completely, like accounting, paperwork, design, coding, marketing, sales, everything.
Right.
So I had a lot of pain that I wanted to solve. Then I started using AI to solve everything one by one. And my goal is to basically be the first who solves the whole thing. And basically my whole organization will run just me and AI. I'm not there yet. So I'm about 80% on the way. So it's 20% left now.
Do you have some people helping you right now, or is it just you?
I have people helping with coding. So everything else is just me. And this year I even done the whole tax work, like tax papers and accounting. Everything was done by me and AI. So I'm proud. I hope I hope it will work. But I had the professionals checking the whole thing out after, and there was no mistake. So I was pretty surprised. I was sure there will be some errors. But then for coding, I use co-makers. So I find people who are really good with AI. And then it's just me and one person, and we build a project together. So no more people, just I do everything that's not coding, and the co-maker does the coding by using the AI coding tool and the real coding as well.
I see. So for most of these 20 projects, you have a kind of like a co-founder who does all the coding and all that, kind of takes care of all that side.
Yeah, exactly. I usually start all by myself while I validate the idea and I build the MVP. And often it just dies out because nobody actually wants that. But then when I manage to actually get attention and I sell at least 10 licenses for that, then it's a sign that it works. Then I go and find somebody who will build with me further.
I mean, maybe if we could just show people any way you're using AI agents, because people are listening to this and they're like, oh, that sounds great. How do I actually do any of this, right?
Yeah, sure. So one of my favorite AI agent is called Lovable. So everybody knows it.
Yep.
And the way I use it is that I use it for prototyping. So when I have an idea, I use Lovable instead of Figma. So I pitched my idea to Lovable, and then I spent the whole day talking to Lovable about my idea. And so I use it as a prototyping tool, but also it's an AI that's smart, right? So you can also talk to it, and you can ask questions, and then you can ask it to come up with ideas, which works really, really well. So in this case, I've been building this inbox bot. It's an agent that will manage my whole inbox across all channels like emails, LinkedIn. And I built this prototype where basically it unites all my messages into one place, and then it shows them here. And then I have AI assistant where I can just ask questions about this chat, or I can ask it to reply, and then it can draft the replies for me. And I built around 10 different prototypes using Lovable within one day, with different kind of ideas in place, the different designs, different UX. And then I bring that to my friends. So I find people who are willing to spend an hour with me, just testing that out. So then I send them 10 links. We jump on a call, and then they share their screen. And then I watch them use all 10 prototypes. I don't ask any questions. I just tell them, try that. Don't talk to me. Just try them all. And it works so well. So in 1 hour, I see which prototype works best, where they can actually understand what's happening. And then after that, I have one winner. So then I take that winner, and then I continue into building that into a real product. So that's probably my favorite use of AI, because as an idea guy, as a founder, I have so many ideas, and
Right.
then I can test them so quickly. Like literally in hours, I can test them. And in the past, I would have to hire a designer, and then I would have to hire a developer who would code that in
Or
type.
hire a designer, and then you work with them in Figma, and you pay them a lot, and you might get a design that's totally not what you want. You gotta go back and forth, and then hire an engineer, and then maybe nobody wants it.
Exactly. I mean, like imagine, like now my iteration cycle is like 3 minutes. So I sent message to here, like I have messages to Lovable, and then it spends 3 minutes and the whole job is done. With a designer, it takes you like 3 days for the same cycle. And now at 3 minutes, like it's crazy. You can't even compare that. So I think we will see like crazy growth in new ideas and new takes on the old ideas.
Did you say 20 in a week? Is that your current rate, like roughly?
Yeah. But most of them don't work out.
Yeah, of course.
Basically, so when I have an idea, the first thing I do when I have an idea, I open Lovable and I pitch the idea and I see what happens. Like that's my habit now.
Yeah. When you say pitch Lovable, do you actually see what Lovable thinks about your idea, or do you just see what's the feel of the landing page, whatever, and does it have a good feel and possibly something, or both?
Yeah, I treat AI as humans, and I think that's one of the reasons why it works so well for me, because a lot of people use AI as technology,
right? And
they try to treat it as software, where it expects you to write in a certain way. But I treat it as a human employee, and I think that Lovable should understand the idea not just on a technical level, but also like why it's important for a world, like who are the users and why do I want to build it. And if you do that, you get surprised by the ideas Lovable sends you back. Not the ideas, but by the UX it built. Like it's not that boring. Like it actually builds cool stuff.
I wonder if we could come up with an idea right now and just like do something in Lovable and just show people, kind of play through like what your process might be.
We can do that. Let me start a new product, new project, go to dashboard.
Okay, AI agent or AI experts directory.
I mean, why not? So I would say like AI expert directory.
And maybe have like different categories, whether it's like influencers or like actual, scientists, or, like maybe like 2 or 3 categories that are.
Make it look futuristic.
Yeah. Make it look good. Nothing bad.
Build the most popular directory. So it sounds silly, but whenever you add these emotions into your text when you talk to AI, it tends to do a better job. I don't know why. Like even when you say please, there's even research where they measured the difference between please and without please, and it was 7% better, more accurate answers when you had please. People build cool stuff with Lovable. Only today I saw somebody raising VC money with an app built on Lovable. Then I saw a guy who was making 30K or 40K MRR with Lovable app. So I think this is like a magic thing for the modern entrepreneurship. In the past, you would have to raise money first on a pre-seed, and then you would find a co-founder or outsource that, and the whole thing takes months or years, or maybe never happens.
Right.
And now, basically, in one day, you can do the whole thing yourself using Lovable. And that's crazy.
Yeah, it's so much faster to prove out concepts. Yeah, like you said. I mean, I lived in San Francisco for 13 years and had a similar thing where I've done 2 VC-backed startups with mixed results and a lot of pain of raising a ton of money and going, having the crazy ups and downs and things taking longer than I would have liked. I would have loved back in the day to have something like this.
I'm jealous, how
Yeah, for the
easy
young
it is
founders.
for the founders today. Yeah, here we are.
Oh, wow.
Right? So it actually works. It even can filter
Hmm.
the things. Yeah. So
not bad at all.
Also the cool part that you see, it even has pictures. These are the stock pictures, but it looks good from the start.
Yeah.
So with the fake data.
Look, AI is completely changing the game for every business right now, and I'm seeing the biggest wins happening in marketing. Most people are using AI all wrong or barely scratching the surface of what's possible. That's why I'm sharing this AI marketing automation playbook. It shows you how you can eliminate 80% of your manual marketing work while actually improving your metrics and conversion rates. It breaks down everything from content to customer journey automation. If you're in marketing, you'll definitely find a few gems in this. Get it right now by scanning the code or clicking the link in the description. Now, let's get back to the show.
How good is Lovable on code? Because one thing I was thinking about is, recently I've been playing with things like Factory and other things, and it feels like they're a little bit more hardcore on the code.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's like some kind of like ideal workflow where, depending on the product, maybe some products like a directory may not need anything else, right? But if you're doing a more complicated product, maybe there's some workflow where you
Yeah.
kind of like prototype the idea out with something like Lovable or V0, which are kind of typically better at UI, UX kind of stuff. And then hand it off to like a more serious coding AI agent like Factory or something else, right?
I mean, you probably seen my AI coding threads,
Yeah.
right? Where I have these 40 tools I compare. So I actually tried all of them, right? Because not in one day, it's just whenever I see one, I try
Right.
that. And that's why I ended up trying all of them. And you have tools that are great for prototypes that basically replace Figma and the front-end development. So
Yeah.
V0, Lovable are probably the best for prototypes. And then you have tools that are the best for full stack apps. And Replit is probably the most powerful. I built stuff with Replit that I run in production, and it works pretty well. And then you have tools that are good for mobile apps. Then you have tools that are great for business logic or for heavy logic, where it's not about the UI, but rather the logic. For example, Cursor or Windsurf, they are great for building logic, but they're not as great for vibe coders. So you have to know
Right.
how to code. Where with Lovable, you don't have to know how to code. And Bolt is probably in the middle of everything. So it's good for the front end. It's good for real apps. It's good for vibe coders. Also, it's good for coders. So I think it's the best kind of middle, like the average tool that does everything okay. But again, my favorite is Lovable, just because I see that in most cases, the UX is the most time consuming thing in the product, because you iterate on UX the most. And also UX usually decides whether your product going to win or not in most cases.
Right.
And that's why I use Lovable. But also I have these other tools, like this Unicorn platform.
What's the Unicorn platform? What is that for anyone listening?
It's a website builder and directory builder.
Oh.
The difference here is that Lovable can build everything, whatever you ask. And the Unicorn platform can build only specified products, for example, like waitlist or Airbnb-like website. So whatever you have in the gallery, it can build. Whatever you don't have in the gallery, it can't build. And that's why if your idea exists in the gallery, then you're going to get much better results compared to Lovable. So for example, here's the real estate directory, and basically you can build yourself something similar, but with your data for your use case, and it will look pretty much like Airbnb almost. And you're pretty confident that it will work, because this template has been made by the experts, and then it works well on security and everything. So I tend to use specialized agents for the tasks, because I think specialized agents, they work better because people have built them and they have fix all the corner cases, because AI is great for a lot of the tasks, but whenever you leave it unattended and whenever it does the work on itself and there's no human stirring it, then it does some stupid mistakes pretty often. Like I use tools like Manus or GenSpark, and they are really good for some tasks. But if you compare them to the specialized agents, for example, there is a tool called AutoGrid that helps you to build this data files, like for directories. You can create a bunch of data, and it was really, really great for that. Somebody bought that tool, so now it's not available anymore. But GenSpark and Manus, they are average for these tasks. So that's why, like, I think the best way to use AI agents is to basically find specialized agents for every task. And then you start by using general agent, you get some data in, and then you test that, use that as a prototype or whatever. But whenever you go for real work and you need the real full data, you go into specialized agents, and that's what I do. So basically, I move to the next agents.
Have you tried anything at any of the platforms? Like I know there's like Lindy and there's Mind Studio and a few different platforms and N8N.
Yeah.
And we actually just had Flo from Lindy on, and he was showing me some demos. I was like, oh, I didn't know you could have like different specialized agents for all these different use cases, and then you can kind of tinker with it underneath the hood and pick like, do this in this order, and then here's your context for doing that, and which model, and you can pick which model you use, and like everything. I was like, that's kind of mind blown.
Yeah, Lindy is probably the best for non-coders and marketers to build these workflows and agents where things work based on triggers and they react on messages, and then they search something on the internet, they send an email, they send connection requests and all those things. So I saw people building huge sales and marketing workflows on Lindy, but it is like my main issue with things like Lindy is that it is very limited. So you don't really code that much there. So I'm a big fan of writing code for agents, because then you can, make them kind of smarter. But I think what Lindy does is that it lets great marketing people or great sales people or great operational people automate the junior people work or automate their own repetitive work.
Right.
So it's really good tools, but I use usually Zapier and N8 for the same thing. So because they were in the game for a long time, I'm used to them. But I think Lindy is even better for that. So I'm planning to switch to that. So the other tool I always use, and I actually built myself, is SEO Bot. So basically, this is a true agent. So you give it URL, like I'm using your own URL now. And I didn't know what was going to happen when I click that.
It's probably a mess. So give me some advice. I've been meaning to do SEO and lore because like it's so primed for SEO, and I just haven't done anything significant with it.
Yeah, you have to start somewhere. Yeah. So basically, this agent is probably my favorite one. Like I built it myself, but still, I really like it because I wish other agents were built the way I built this one. Because when I was building this agent, my goal was to remove all the work from the user, like completely. So basically, now the only thing I will do from here on is to watch it work. So there is nothing more for me to do. It's almost like
watch the terminal, cinema. And it's just going at it.
Yeah, and it takes forever. Like it will keep working like every day from now on until I turn it off, and that's so cool. Because I think a lot of the agents, they end up building not the agents, but actually tools where AI helps you. And I like that, but that doesn't change the game for me, for example. Like I'm so busy, I don't really have time to use the tools. So I would rather turn them on and just let them run. And I think most agents still think that their main users are the teams, and teams want to have tools to become more productive. But my main users are the busy founders like me who don't want to become more productive. I just want to do nothing, and the whole thing happens because I have other things to do, right? Like I have more important things to do. So let's see what happened here. So it does some research. So it found you.
What's it doing now? Is it like analyzing any problems and like maybe like telling me like things content I could create or?
Yeah, it has done that already. So it suggests you these 10 headlines. So it does research for the headlines. It found low hanging fruits for you. And it looked up on Google for the search traffic. So you can land 1K clicks for this article, then 2K clicks for this one.
Oh, that's
so
amazing.
Basically, it has done the whole work of laying out the strategy for SEO for your tool. And it has the headlines. And if I click proceed, then it will just activate the work. And then it will start building the headlines. It will send the headlines to your website. And then it will keep doing that every day until you stop it.
That's crazy. So. That is amazing. How do I get this? I need this.
I will send it over to you. So you're in it. So I will just invite you after.
That's awesome.
After the call.
If someone's listening, how do they find this? Like, because I think a lot of people are going to see this and be like, "Oh my god, I want that." I mean, for like any business owner, I don't know why you wouldn't want to try this.
Yeah, it's SEObotai.com.
Okay. SEObotai.com.
And they can try. And I really urge agent developers to try it too, because I had the idea while building SEObot and all my other agents is that I think the founders and the software world is really slow on adapting for the new paradigm shift where we have to move from SaaS and utility tools into AI agents that run on autopilot, where you as a user is acting more like a moderator or like a boss, right? And the boss usually gives feedback and the boss doesn't do the work, right? And I'm disappointed by seeing most of the agents not moving that way. Like they're still looking like the old software. And I think they should be kind of bolder and take more risks and actually make agents that do the whole thing for the user, because that will simply accelerate the founders. Like now we have, 100 people building the same company, and imagine if 100 people could build 100 companies. Maybe that will never happen, but at least you can increase the number of founders building the products. And that's kind of my dream, that my tools will enable solo founders to build startups without raising VC money, without hiring people, at least at the start, and they get somewhere.
You, in theory, could go through the entire process of just like, some kind of new kind of AI agent-powered studio where you're just cranking out ideas, and the ones that work, you like double down into and put more resources into.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly where we're going, where agents will be able to do everything humans can do. And of course, humans can do things better than the agents. The best humans can do things better than the average agents. But in most cases, you don't need that. Like when you're validating idea or at the early stage, it's not that important. The quality of work is rather the cost is important. And you can always bring human on board later, or you can be the human who improves the outcome. And that's what I do. Yeah. So almost everything that my agents do, I end up revisiting and improving myself at some point. But for example, look at SEO content. So it generates me 100 articles a month, for example, for one product. And then after the last day of the month, I go to the analytics and I see which are the 3 articles that did the best. And then I spend an hour to improve those 3 articles.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm still involved, but I do like the AI helps me. I'm almost like a VC fund that funds 100 articles, and then it's the seed funding, and now I see who is doing the best, and then I kind of get involved.
You're going to pile into the Series A
them.
and the Series B to go in on those articles. Yeah.
Exactly. And you can do the same with everything else, because a lot of people are opposed to AI, and they say that AI is doing a bad job with content and the quality is low. And my take on that is that, yes, that's true. AI is not as good as humans today, but very often in the first run, you care more about quantity than the quality. And then later you can bring the quality yourself.
And the quality is going to get better and better automatically. Like most of these tools, like, a new model came out. Like, okay, now it's just like 20% better and cheaper.
And, like in the Unicorn platform, so I have this thing which is pretty cool. So I won't let people hire agents. So I have this.
Oh man, you're competing with my friend Matt Wolf, his Future Tools site.
But here, these are not the links. These are actually agents that run within the platform. So if I hire the agent that can monetize my website, it will actually do the whole work. So when I enable this, it will outreach all the potential sponsors, and it will pitch them my website, and then eventually land me a deal with a sponsor for sponsoring my website, right? And same thing with other things. So I think we will see agents and humans competing for the work. We're seeing that already, and I think that's kind of the future.
Oh, wow. I should actually be using this to get sponsors for my newsletter. I shouldn't be manually reaching out to people. I should literally just have like an agent doing all that.
Yeah, exactly. Because that work is easy, right? It's just time
Right.
consuming. Like, it's not like you're doing something crazy. It's not like you're writing a personalized message to every sponsor. You're actually just doing boring job over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Typically giving them like a PDF with the information or sending them a link to like, yeah, it's pretty simple.
Exactly.
One question I had is, I saw your episode with like Greg Eisenberg where you were talking about like using AI for directories. And I think maybe that's what you were kind of known for before. What do you think about directories? Like, are they still useful in the future? I guess that's one question I have, is because I could see the argument for them being useful or them not being useful because people will just use AI and AI will tell them everything.
Yeah. I think that directories will be useful because AI is good at answering questions, but it all comes down to the data it uses as a RAG, as their context. And right now, the biggest kind of progress among AI chatbots is their context and where they get the data, right? Because AI is great at answering questions, but it doesn't always know the right answer because it wasn't present in their training data, right? And now, like Grok is doing a good job because it uses social media and its own tweets for that. So I think the future of directories is that the directories will represent the highest quality of the content within the niche. For example, like there are people building the future tools or Futurepedia or other directories for AI tools. Like those people spend hours and days and months and years on curating the list of AI tools, on finding, their pros and cons and comparing them to each other and finding the reviews about those tools. So this data is so important, right? And if you feed that data into LLM and then ask a question like, what should I use for this problem, then it has really good data from the directory that it can use to answer the question. So then the value of good data is just growing, right? So I think in the future, the LLMs will pretty much do all the same thing. We're seeing that now already. Like they're almost the same now. Like we had some times when one was better than the other, but today I think all four players are pretty much the same. And now is the race for the data. Like who has the best data? And I think if you are the one who can provide LLMs with the best data, you can charge for it. You can monetize it. And that's why I think directories have big future.
Yeah, that's kind of my thesis with directories is that people are going to care more and more about the who's curating it, right? Like, for example, Future Tools is Matt Wolf, right? My co-host of this podcast, right? And that's a big reason that people go to Future Tools is because, like, yeah, Matt has some agents helping him behind the scenes. I'm not going to tell all of his workflows. Maybe he's shared some of them on the podcast. But there's still a human element of Matt and team checking things before they go live, right? And actually, I'm working on something like that for lore.com right now. Like, I'm going to have, like, maybe by the time this is out, it'll already be out. But, like, leaderboards for AI curated by experts.
Yeah, I saw it. It's cool. It's a cool idea. I like it.
Yeah, like what does Matt Wolf think? What does Nathan think? What is what do my other friends, Rowan at the Rundown, like all these kind of experts, what do they think? And I think over the time that'll probably be a big trend is like directories, and you really care who's running the directory.
Yeah, exactly. Like as we enter the world where the amount of data will grow exponentially, there will be so much data that the problem is, what do you pick from this large variety, right?
Right.
And they already use directories a lot. So, for example, just today I was searching on Grok for indie makers, and then it gave me suggestions, and then there was a link, and I clicked the link, and it links to indie maker list, and that was my directory. Right. So
That's awesome.
I was so happy, actually.
Yeah.
I even forgot I had that directory. So you can see that LLMs, when they have the task to pick the right place to pull the data from, they tend to choose directories because that makes sense. That makes sense that they will go for directories versus blog posts, because it's obvious that directories are higher effort content rather than the blog post. It takes months to build directory, or some directories took years for people, and blog post is just like one evening work. Somebody puts 15 tools together.
Or now 5
Like,
minutes
it's
with
not-
your little agent that you're running.
Exactly. Like no time at all, right? And
Yeah.
I think LLMs understand that because they are smart, and they will go for directories. And then if I'm asking LLM who is the best indie maker, and then it links me to indie maker list, I would probably click it, and I would probably spend my time on the directory to do more search. So people are concerned that LLM will just hide away all the websites. But not really, because my intent now is to do something around indie makers, and probably now it makes sense to just go to the website and just
Right.
browse that directly without having LLM as a proxy. And that's what I did in this case, and that's what people do. So I think directories will be still discovered through LLMs.
I do wonder if it's going to make it harder though. Like this is one reason I have a very short domain name, because I know it's easy to type in, and in the future,
That's really short.
I know having a long one can be good in some ways for Google and whatnot, like really precise. But I also do wonder if over time Google's just going to answer it for you more and more. And so yes, the LLMs will suggest you, and it's really good to have a name that people can remember that they can go type in by themselves right into the browser.
Yeah,
right?
that's true too.
What do you think about where SEO is? I know before you used to have a lot of content about SEO, and obviously some of the stuff that you create. You got your SEO bot. What do you think about SEO? And I forgot what they're calling it now. I think I called it AIO, but I don't know. There's different terms for this. Where basically, how do you optimize
people are
for the
trying to find
LLMs? Yeah. I think A16Z came out with one. Somebody else came out with the term. But how are you thinking about that? And in terms of like optimizing for LLMs?
I think that it is very similar. So it's rarely when I see LLM answering with a web link that's not on top of Google search. So I think that if you're good on SEO, if you're being shown on top of Google and on top of Bing, in most cases you will be also within the within the context and RAG of LLMs. So I think that the game is very similar. So it's not a new game. A lot of people sell that as a new game, and there are new rules and you have to do new things. But I think it all comes down to the same thing. You have to have good content. Your link should answer the query. People should share it. There should be backlinks to that. And I don't think that will change, because that ultimately corresponds to high quality data. And you can probably find a way to hack that, but that will not work for too long. I think in the long term, still the best data will win, and the best data is the one that people share.
I think, you're talking about like the playbooks not being different for SEO and AIO. I mostly agree. I think that the difference may be, though, that domain authority and things like that and reputation probably will be more important, just because of the flood of content that'll come out, right? So it's like they'll have to lean more and more into like, who is putting out this content, right?
Yeah.
It's some random AI agent from some random person over wherever, versus this person who has like a big reputation on. They'll probably look at social signals too, like how many followers do they have on X, and maybe do they have actual engagement? So it's like real followers. They'll probably eventually look into that as well as like what's the actual domain authority. And I think they'll also probably look at more and more too, like what associations do they have publicly with other people that are trusted, right? Whether it's other experts, individuals, or other big brands. That's kind of my theory, and what I'm working on with Lore.com is trying to build more alliances between big companies who interact with Lore.com and help them. And hopefully over time that tells ChatGPT that like, oh, Lore is like the big, the source that you should trust for like AI information, and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I had another test where I had a new website, and I had a tweet where I had a link to my new website, and tweet went viral, and the website had 0 backlinks except my tweet. And the next day I had a lot of traffic from Google, which meant that in Google's algorithm, now they look into backlinks from social media, and not just from social media, but also social media and popular profiles, because I had.
Well, right now they're looking into Reddit a lot, is my
followers.
understanding, and people are manipulating the hell out of that, is my understanding. Like people are going into Reddit, and like tons of people are doing fake comments on Reddit. That's like the big thing now, is to go on Reddit and just create tons of fake accounts and spam all your links. And apparently Google looks at that a lot. So I think at some point they're gonna have to, like, that's why I'm saying the whole authority thing, because like they went from like, looking at your backlinks and all that, and now they're more and more going to like, okay, well, what are people saying on Reddit and whatnot? And that's getting super spam. So they will have to go to authority very soon, because like Reddit is just it's horrible right now. I don't know if you've seen it, but like there's so many fake comments.
Yeah, I saw it, and it's happening also on LinkedIn and Twitter, and nobody knows what to do with it. So
yep, true. Like, what do you do? It's like, it's actually an idea back in the early days. I was involved in crypto early on, and we had this one thing called QuickCoin back in the day, which was this thing where you could shoot Bitcoin to a friend, and you could actually see their face. It was like kind of the opposite of what everyone else was doing about being anonymous. We were being the opposite of anonymous, but making it super simple. It went crazy viral for like a month or two. It was one of the biggest things in crypto for like a month or two, and then died off. And then after that, we're like, okay, what do we do now? And then one of the experiments we ran, or we were thinking about, was like, well, in the future, AI and stuff's going to get way better. And I was like, okay, yeah, it was talking to my co-founder. I was like, okay, yeah, in the future, like what, in like 20 years? I didn't realize how fast this was going to happen, right? But what we were talking about is like, oh, people are going to be using AI to like spam online. There's going to be tons of spam. And so maybe what you do is you have to have some kind of cost to post. But yeah, the challenge there is just like, if you have cost to post, I mean, there's just so many people who are not going to post. And, it's challenging.
In most cases, though, the people who do run those bot farms, they're willing to pay for it, because they're probably promoting their tool. They're going to make money on that, so they will just see it as a marketing cost. And what you will see is that the real people will not be willing to pay for that, and the growth hackers will be willing to pay for that. So the whole internet will be fake.
Yeah, fake growth hackers, fake internet theory, right? Like on steroids. Like it's all just like Lindy's and Claude's and whatever, just like chat with each other.
Well, as long as they chat with each other, then it's fine. So we're not the ones who have to do that. But I think big changes will happen. A lot of changes will happen, and my best take on that is that platforms like X, they have the best position on that, because since X uses its own feed and its own content to pull the data in, then it's easy for them to actually backtrack the whole thing. Like, who is writing this reply? Who is this? How many followers they have? Who is following them? Are they verified? Have they ever had other bungers on X before? So it's so easy for them because it's their own data, right?
Yeah, I think they have other signals too that they probably haven't announced. I'm convinced that they also check DMs. I've actually tested this before, and so yeah, I'm not sure if I should say this on the podcast or not, but I've definitely. So probably over the last year, one of the things that really boosted my account on X was having Elon Musk interact with my post. He's interacted with probably about 7 or so of my posts, 2 or 3 times shared my posts. And the first time that ever happened, I told friends right before it happened, I'm like, he's going to interact with my post today. And an hour later, it happened. And the way I did it was, I was or at least my theory about why it happened. Maybe it was just, luck or whatever. But my theory was, I bet they look at who you actually talk to in DMs and see if there's actual interactions happening, not just like you sent them a message and they never responded. I assume that's a strong social signal to them. And I assume if you're connected to someone and they're also connected to that person, and it's they have data that you are a close friend or like a colleague of that person, it's probably way more likely that it shows up in their algorithm that when they open their X. And so I have like 2 or 3 friends who know Elon pretty well, and one of them was more just like somebody that Elon shares his stuff all the time. And I told them what I was doing, but I messaged them and on purpose had conversations curious if that would influence the algorithm. And lo and behold, 1 hour later, Elon Musk responded to my tweet. My friends were like, "What? How did you do that?" I'm like, "I'm pretty sure that's right. I assumed that was my experiment, and it worked. And I've tried it a few times after, and every time I did it, it worked almost every time." So anyways,
I'll try that. I'll report back if it works.
Sorry for anyone listening to this now if you get spammed by random people who are like, "Hey, how's it going today?" And all this kind of stuff. I'm so sorry. So before we get off here, I always like to ask a few kind of like rapid fire kind of questions. What's your most controversial belief about AI?
We will not get to AGI using LLMs. I think we have pretty much achieved most of the progress already, and more progress will come from software itself, not from LLMs.
Really? Wow. What makes you think that? I think the opposite. So, like, where's that coming from?
Because when you look at the progress in AI, you don't really know exactly whether that new leap forward happened because of the LLM or because of the software on top of LLM. And in my case, since I'm using a lot of AI directly and I use LLMs directly, and in that case, you see clearly the difference between the models. So the difference between the models isn't that huge. So basically, in 2023, we had GPT-4 released. And since then, as a user of their APIs in all of my tools, I haven't seen a crazy change. Like, it hasn't improved as much as I would expect. I would say that the improvement between GPT 3.5 and 4 was greater than between 4 and everything else that happened after. But then if you use the tools, the applications and the agents, it feels different.
Right.
Like the change there is huge, right? So it suggests that it happens because of the software.
Yeah, the model is getting way better at using different tools and knowing which tools to use. And it does feel like that's probably how we get to AGI is through the actual smart, knowing which tools to use and using them properly.
Yeah, and it is similar to the computer. Like the computer itself has been getting better and better and smarter before AI, but it would never lead to AGI. It was just the software that makes the hardware kind of look smart, right? And that's why we will see a lot more progress moving forward, because there will be a lot more software built on top of AI and tools, and they will be connected to each other, etc. But to get to AGI, you need the foundation to be stronger, the LLM itself, and LLMs are not moving up. There's a graph, actually, I will send you after the call, where they look at the growth, and it has basically went flat, like almost linear, not exponential, since 2023 for LLMs.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm convinced. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people who work at the companies and heard about things that are in development that haven't been released yet. And my feeling is that a lot of the limitations that we're seeing are more around the infrastructure, whether it's like lack of chips, energy. I think energy and chips are like the big thing that's actually slowing down the progress. I think the actual labs, I think OpenAI has, they have better models that have not been released. And a lot of it is just because the website would probably die. And they also just would not have enough chips to actually run the thing, right?
Yeah.
And enough energy. Another thing I like to ask, and I think you have kids, right? I think I saw that on a podcast.
Yeah.
But I'm always thinking, my son's 11, and in the age of AI, what should I be teaching him? Should I be teaching him to code? Should I be teaching him? Are there other skills that are like super critical that I should be teaching him?
I think for kids, it's not that important what they learn. It's rather that they have to train their brain muscle. So whatever helps to train their brain muscle,
video games,
is great. And I mean, well, it makes kids smarter, like way smarter. But there's downside that they may just find it so fun that everything else will look boring. But I think the coding is single best way to train your brain. Like, it's almost like gym. It's almost like lifting weights, right? And also it's addictive. So it's one of the best ways of training your brain where you actually like doing that. Similar to the computer games, but without a downside. Like, you will never see someone, going mad because they write code too much. So at some point you get
Right.
tired of it. But with video games, you never get tired. It's like it's too cool to do that.
Yeah,
So I would still learn to code.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who've been highly successful that started video games, though, and that was almost like a gateway drug into coding and just getting interested into more technology. Last question. Imagine you had a time machine, John, and you travel to the year 2050 and you get out. What do you see? What's different? What's not different? What's the world like?
All right, that's interesting. I think we're gonna see nothing almost. So
No, wait a minute. What do you mean?
I think there will be like buildings totally locked, and there will be people in the buildings. Buildings are gonna have no windows, nothing, and there will be people inside there connected to the computers using Neuralink, direct brain
Pod
interface
people,
with the computer.
Basically.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, it's similar to the Wall-E. Like that's not the future I want, but something tells me that that's inevitable, that we're gonna end up having the Wall-E like the future, because we're just heading there now, and AI will make everything. AI and humanoid robots will make everything super cheap and eventually free.
Yeah.
And then humans will have to invent games so that they can do something, because there's nothing actually they have to do. Like everything's optional. Okay, then we make games where we actually compete, and there is some game, status game, whatever game.
Yeah.
And then when they invent the games will be first offline and online, but eventually online games will win versus the offline, because they'll be more interesting, because things like VO3 will help.
I think what you're saying, I get part of it, and I agree with part of it. I think, I love the book Ready Player One. I read the book way before, the movie came out and all that.
Yeah.
And at the end, people kind of get off of the technology in the games a little bit, right? It's like, and there may be like a transitionary period where people definitely are using it way too much. But I've seen this in San Francisco where people, they use technology a lot, but also people love to go out for hikes and stuff now. Like it's super common that you go out for meetings, hiking and whatnot, right? And get off of technology as much as possible. I think you'll see that a lot of people will actually spend less time with technology. And then the technology does a lot of the boring work that they don't want to do. And they can actually get out more. And then there'll be some people will be crazy about the games and they'll do it all the time. And for other people, it'll be like, yeah, I'm going to go do that with my wife tonight for 2 hours. We're going to just do some game or watch some movie or some new kind of, interactive experience.
Exactly. So one of the thing I do is I promote kids for founders. So whenever I meet founders, I say you should have kids. And then they tell me I have no time. And I tell them just use more of AI, and then you have more time.
If you have a company, that's actually one of the best times to have a kid. You can actually, it's amazing education they would never get anywhere else if you actually somewhat include them. Not every day. They're not going into the office every day or something, but if you include them, it's one of the best experiences they possibly could have.
Yeah. I mean, I work from home, and when it's day and not night, my kids come over and they just
what are you doing, Daddy?
What I do. Yeah. And now it's cool with AI. So, for example, I'm doing these prototypes with Lovable, and then they ask me what I do, and I tell them what I do, and then I let them prompt it.
Yeah.
And they prompt it, and then, it brings some fresh ideas into what I do. So some of the things I have, I actually ask my kids to give me some random ideas or random prompts, and then it makes things more creative for me. So,
you're gonna have to increase their allowance, right? If one of their ideas takes off.
I'll put them as co-founders in that case.
Yeah. Put their names at the bottom, like a little heart or something, kind of that. Maybe tell people listening where they can find you, where they can find you online. If there's a certain website you want to push people to, whether it's the, I think there was the SEObotai.com, which I'm going to be checking out, but anything else as well?
Yeah, I'm on X and LinkedIn and Substack. It's John Rush X, the handle. And I share everything I do every day. Every month, I share my plans for the month. Every last day of the month, I share what I have done during the month. And then people tell me, oh my God, it's a lot you've done. And I say, it's because of the agents I built. So that's basically my life. So you can find me there and follow me there.
Yeah. And for anyone listening, whether you like own a business or you're like an individual, I mean, I think there's like so much you can learn from this episode. Like if I ran a business, I mean, even I think HubSpot should be doing this. You probably should have like a division in your company where you are using AI agents to crank out ideas that are beneficial to your main company. And then you could spin those off and have AI try those. And the ones that work, then actually double down and put resources and people on those projects. I think so many companies should be doing that. I don't know why they're not.
Yeah, I think this is really good idea. I think all corporations should have this little AI factories within where people just try to innovate within rather than waiting for innovation from outside. That's so smart.
So much easier to do right now too, right? Like one person or less or 0 people to get started.
Yeah, you start with one person. Like find the most creative person in your organization and let them do that full time.
Crank out the 20 ideas a week. Maybe you find one good one a month and then actually like turn that into like a new business unit. Yeah, I think everyone should be doing that. But it's been awesome, John.
Yeah, thanks.